Today we're going to look at setting up the DJI RS4 Mini gimbal. We're also going to look at balancing it. We're going to attach the cable to the camera, do camera control. So we have the RS4 Mini combo, which is what we're going to be using. So this video is not sponsored by DJI or sponsored at all, but I do want to thank B&H Photo. Thank you, Abe, for loaning me this gimbal so I can make this video to make it possible. I'll be returning it to them as soon as I've finished. So if you haven't yet bought one, support them with the affiliate link underneath. All right, let's get started. And by the way, if you have a different gimbal, check out my YouTube channel because I do have a setup tutorial for each one of them. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is set this up as a nice base so we can get everything built on top of it. So we're going to take the gimbal, which right now is in the travel position. We're going to attach the mini tripod. So just put that in the bottom, turn it around, open up the feet, and then just give it a little bit of a twist, just a little bit. Not enough to, strip the thread, but you want enough so it's really nice and tight on there. And now we want to change this into the setup position rather than the travel position. And you'll notice there's 3 motors on here, and each one of these has a lock. So why don't we unlock this one? We're going to bring it up and then lock it in again. And then same thing here. Just unlock that, swing it into position, and then lock it. And it should be like that. So now we've got a good position there. Everything is set up. All right, and let's take the base plate here. What we want to be doing is, you'll notice that there's a little gear on here, and on one side, you're going to see that. The camera's going to be towards the back, and you'll see a little notch. So you're going to start at the front of the gimbal, and you're just going to push this back. You don't need to push the buttons or anything to put it on. But then once you feel it starts to get tight, then just turn the wheel. And you notice that wheel, we can move it. Now, the reason the buttons are here is if we go to the end here and we want to take it off, just push the button just push that button here at the side, and you can just slide it off. So those are just kind of like a safety lock. All right, so let's put it back on again. Now, don't force it, use the wheel and take it back, so you're about somewhere in the middle, and we will use this again in a moment for balancing. Okay, so what we want to do now is tighten that up. And that's nice and tight, ready to go. Okay, so now we want to put the camera on there. So if you look, you'll see the mounting plate, and then you'll have 2 nuts. We're going to use the wing nut. If you prefer to use the screw nut, you can use that one. All right, so if we look at the bottom, you'll notice there's a little plastic piece, and this little plastic piece stops it from shifting side to side when it's on the camera. All right, so what we want to do is flip the camera over, and then we're going to take this mounting plate. Now you'll notice that we can put this little notch here on the front, or we can put it on the back. Now the problem is if you put it on the back, it's going to interfere with the articulating screen, so you want to put that on the front. So here's a little tip. If this doesn't interfere with the screen or anything on your camera, and you have trouble balancing it, flip it around and try and put that on the back of the camera. It might just kind of change the way that it balances. All right, so we're going to just put that in there. We're going to move it into position, grab the wing nut, and we're going to mount the camera. All right, so we're just going to put this plate on the camera. Make sure it's nice and firm. Great. So let's take our camera. The camera I'm using right now is the Sony A7sIII, and we're going to look at all the different settings on it. Now check the DJI website to see compatibility for your camera. So to mount this, super easy. First thing we're going to do is take that lever, and you want to move that to the right so it's open. And then we're going to take the camera to the side, line it up, and then just simply slide it. And you'll feel when it can go no further, it's in there. And then just take that lever and tighten it up. And now we've got the camera on there. The nice thing about the way this quick release system works is once we have everything balanced, we don't need to rebalance the camera. To take it off, all you do is you just take that lever across, push that button at the back. You can slide it off, and notice it doesn't change anything here. So you can travel with this separate, take the camera off, and then when you're ready to shoot again, just simply mount that camera again. And away you go. Then we have the tracking module. The tracking module is magnetic. So in order to attach it, you just simply point the camera forward, put it on there, just give it a little wiggle, and it will go in position. Now you notice that there's a little silver catch. If you push those in, you can just lift it off. That's how you take it off. So just squeeze those in on both ends. And same way, put it back on again. Nice and easy. And since we've got the tracker set up here, why don't we just quickly have a look at how that works. You'll notice right now that it's got a red glow on it. If I put the camera and I face myself and it sees me and I put my hand up like this, now it changes green. And as I move around, notice that that camera is going to follow me. And so this is good if you're working by yourself and you don't have a camera person. The camera can track you beautifully. And if I want to turn the tracking off, I just put my hand up again, say stop. Now it turns red. It's no longer tracking me. I can go back here, nothing. Put hand up, green, tracking me. Let's go back. Great. You can stop. All right, before we turn the gimbal on and set it up, what I want to do is we're going to do a balancing of the camera. And so if the camera is not balanced when we turn this on, it's just going to fling around like crazy and perhaps damage the camera. So we don't want that to happen. When the camera's balanced, you're going to get good stable operation. It's not going to be working these motors too hard. If the camera's out of balance, the motors will start working really hard and sometimes it will just shut down because it's too much strain on there. And even if it doesn't, it's going to start shaking. You know, it's really important to balance that camera. And the other thing too is when you go between horizontal and vertical, or add any accessories on here, you're going to need to rebalance as well. So there's 3 motors on here and we need to balance all the motors. So let's just quickly talk about the motors. So the first motor is at the bottom and it has a lock. That's the pan motor. That pans, goes backwards and forwards, think panorama. Okay, that's what that motor does. Then we've got the roll motor. Think about rolling. If you roll an aircraft over, like a barrel roll, or you roll a wheel, or anything like that, we can loosen that off here, and the roll goes side to side. Then we've got tilt. Think about tilting things up, tilting things down, like I tilt my glasses up or down, right? Take the little lock, and notice that tilts up and down. So those are the 3 motors. The first one we want to balance is the tilt motor. But the first thing you want to do is you want to put the camera directly above, because what we're doing is, notice it slides up and down on here. We want to get this balanced first. Okay, so the way to do that is we are going to loosen this lever. And notice as the camera kind of moves to the front, that means we want to pull the weight back that way. So it slides on there. Notice how it slides on this little, see how it slides on there? So if the camera's too far back, it'll fall. We want weight to go forward, so we'll bring it more that way. Now lift the camera a little bit as we do it. If you don't lift the camera, you're really going to be kind of scraping and forcing it. And if you're forcing it too much, just lift it and then just move it into position. Now, it's just slight little micro adjustment, and that's about there. We're good. All right, now before we lock this, there's a second one we want to do, and that's the forwards and backwards. So you're going to notice here, we're going to loosen this, and this is where this wheel comes into play. Notice if it's falling backwards, we want the camera to go forwards. It's going forward, we want the camera to come backwards. So you're just looking for that little balance there. And sometimes it's just a micro adjustment to get it just right. And when you get that balanced, take that locking lever, hold it, support it with your hand. And now we should be able to tilt the camera up or down. And it should stay in position, which means that we've successfully balanced that motor. That's good. All right, let's lock that into position. The next one we're going to do is the roll motor. So we're going to go side to side. So let me just turn that around so you can see here. So first thing we want to do is we want to unlock it, and then we loosen this off. It's going to be difficult for me to do this reverse, but you guys will get, it makes it easy for you to see. But if I move it too much that way, notice that the camera falls there. So this slides on here. So we want to slide it the other way. Now this arm has been Teflon coated, which makes it a little bit nicer and easier to move. Notice what I'm doing here is I'll just put my thumb on the motor here. I'll grab it there and I'll just give it a slight squeeze, and that enables me to move it just a little bit. But I'll also, with the other hand, I'm going to push here. So just kind of pushing it across, but you're also lifting it a little bit at the same time. All right, so what we're looking for is a nice balance. And that's pretty good. So the camera should sit pretty steady. Now, if you go here, it's still going to roll to the middle, and that's fine. As long as it settles in the middle, we're nicely balanced. Good. Let's tighten that up. and then we're going to lock that motor. Now we want to balance the pan motor. Pan motor is the most difficult, and notice I just closed the legs to do that. We're going to unlock it and loosen it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go flat here. We're going to slide that one backwards and forwards to get that nice balance. Okay, so you're just going to move that one backwards and forwards until the camera is sitting nice and level like that. Now, let's tighten that, and then we're going to lock it in. All right, great. Camera is now balanced. So the next thing we need to do now is we need to activate the gimbal. Now, if you haven't already done this, plug in the power cord and charge this thing up. So assuming that you've got everything nicely charged up, let's turn it on and activate it. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold this button. It's going to automatically unlock those axes, and you can see because it's balanced, the camera is not flying around everywhere, it's just sitting there. All right. Okay, so we've turned the gimbal on, and you'll get 5 uses. You'll see here you can use it 5 times before you activate it. Now you can use it without the smartphone, but you need to use the smartphone to activate it. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to go into the DJI Ronin app, make sure it's updated, and then we're going to launch the app. Click on the Connect, choose the gimbal, which is the RS4 Mini, and now the Bluetooth is going to pop up to enable it. Now you might have to go under the app if you're on the iPhone and give it access to the Bluetooth. Then go back to the app, and we're just going to choose Connect. You're going to see the device list, choose it from the list, and then choose Pair. What I want to do is type in the password, which is 12345678, then hit OK. And if I ask you to update the firmware, it's a good idea to do that. Don't turn off the camera while you're updating the firmware. Now you're all set. Once we've got this activated, which you only have to do the first time, each time you put the camera on and you go to use it, what we're going to do is do Autotune. So we're going to slide up, and you're going to see that little icon of the gimbal. Tap on it, and you'll see Start Calibration. Tap Start Calibration, you'll notice the camera will start shaking and wobbling side to side. And what it's doing is it's fine-tuning everything and getting that last little bit of balance for you. Of course, it goes without saying you want it on a flat, level surface when you do this. And all these noises, grinding noises, they're quite normal. And then when it's done, it says confirm. So we can tap on there. And at this point, our gimbal is balanced and ready to go. In case you didn't know, a couple of quick things. Double tap to recenter the camera. Triple tap will flip it around so we can go into selfie mode. Double tap will take it back again. We're using FPV, which means that it will roll, it will tilt, and it will pan. Now, if you hold down the button, the camera will stay steady as you move the gimbal. And then there's 2 other modes in here that we can switch between. PTF, that's pan, tilt, and follow. Let me double tap. So it will pan. It will tilt if I go up and down. It will not rotate. That will only rotate on FPV. And let's go to the other mode, which is pan follow, which is one that I use a lot, which means that it will pan, but if you go up or down, it will not tilt. The only thing it will do is it will turn and it will pan. So depending on how you're shooting, go between those 3 different modes. So it's quite easy to switch between horizontal and vertical mode and back. Let me show you how. First thing you want to do is turn the gimbal off. Now we can either do it from this travel position or we can do it from the shooting position. It doesn't matter, we can do it either way. So all of this happens from this one little screw here. You'll notice this little adjustment. So what we're going to do is support the camera with your hand, and then you're just going to loosen this off. So just give it a couple of turns, you can feel it starts to get loose. So what we're going to do is we're going to push in here, and as we push in, we're going to lift the camera away. So let's just push in and then pull it away, it just pops right out. As you can see, there's a slot there, and also there's a slot here at the bottom of this plate. If we turn this around and you look at it, notice there's 2 little things, and as we push that in, it brings them together, and that's essentially how we switch this out. So if we want to go into vertical mode, move your camera into that position, push, notice they go together, and that'll just pop in, and then just tighten this. Don't let go of the camera until you've tightened it. And just like that, now we're in vertical shooting mode. But remember, when we switch this out, we're gonna have to rebalance our gimbal each time. Now put it back to horizontal. It's just as simple. Hold that camera, turn that a couple of times, push it, pull it off, and then push it back in. All right, quick look at some of the settings on the app. So we wanna go to the DJI Ronin app. First thing you wanna do is you wanna choose your gimbal and you wanna connect. So you just tap on it in device list. All right, so you can change some different settings here. If you want to be able to view on your phone what the camera can see, you need to have the DJI transmitter, which is the Raven Eye. Let's go and we're gonna click on create and look at some of the functions. One of them is a virtual joystick. If we tap on there, we can go in here and now we can remotely control our camera. So this is really useful if you're filming yourself or you put a camera mounted on a tripod or on a roof or somewhere or on a car. This gives you the ability to control it remotely. Okay, so other notable things, one of them is we can do the force mobile. Okay, now we're going to turn it on and notice it will mimic the movement of my phone. So if you want to move the camera, just simply tilt or move that phone around. And of course we can start and stop playback right here. We can go in here, we can change some of the camera settings. And of course you can also use the RS4 Mini without the mobile phone, just turn it on and just shoot. All right, let's look at camera control. So there's two ways we can control the camera. One is through the Bluetooth and the other way is going to be through the camera control cable. The control cable will enable us to change more things, but let's start with the most basic, which is Bluetooth. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn our camera on. To this point, we've actually had the camera off, but now it's on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here. I'm going to swipe down, and then you're going to see a Bluetooth icon. Tap on the Bluetooth icon, and you'll see mobile device and camera. So we're going to go to camera, and now there's a notice that says enable Bluetooth on camera. So depending on your camera, I'm going to show you on the Sony because the menus can be quite tricky on the Sony, and some have changed, by the way, and I'm going to show you the updated menu. So if you've been looking for that, yes, you've come to the right place. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down, and then you're going to see the little green icon, which is our network. Go across, and then we're going to go down to Bluetooth. Then you're going to see Bluetooth function. We're going to turn it on. Now go down to the Bluetooth remote control and turn it on. Then you just get a little warning that makes sure your camera is paired. And at the bottom here, we're going to see the camera. Choose the camera, and there we go. Now we've paired the camera. So once you've paired the camera, it will see it, and all you've got to do is just simply turn the camera on, put it on Bluetooth, and then we should be good to go. So what can we do with the Bluetooth? We can stop recording. And that's the main thing we're going to do with it. But the other thing is there's an M button here. We can set this to take a photograph. And I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to go into the menu. We're going to swipe up. Then swipe to the left. You see M button. Turn on there and you can choose. You can map it to your C1 button, which is on your camera there. And you can map on your camera what you want that C1 to do. The other thing is you can choose take photos. If you take photos, hit that M button and it will take those photos. So what if we want to change other things like ISO, shutter speed, and aperture, as well as electronic focus? Well, we can do that using the camera control cable. So let's turn everything off right now. You always want to turn everything off when you're going to be attaching any cables to your camera or the gimbal. And then you'll notice on the back, you'll see a slot. So we're going to take the supplied USB-C cable and we are going to attach it to the gimbal. Then we want to attach it to the camera. Now don't do it just across the back here because this cable could get in the way. So what you probably want to do is just kind of thread it down here a little bit. Thread it down like that and it'll just kind of get it out of the way. Just kind of tucks it out of the way. And then we're going to attach it to the camera. All right. We now have the camera control cable. It's not going to work yet. We need to set it up. And on the Sony, it's a little tricky. We're going to choose the Bluetooth and then Bluetooth function off. If that Bluetooth is on, the cable won't work and it won't connect, so you want to make sure you turn that off on the camera. Great. So this has changed since the 3.01 firmware update on the A7sIII. So we would do the remote before, but now what we're going to do is we're going to go down one into the setup menu. Then under the setup menu, we're going to go down to USB. Now, under the USB, we're going to change the connection mode. So let me select here. Notice we have the option here for remote shooting, which will work. The other way, which is quite useful, is cell, which is select when connecting. So I'm going to turn that on, and this actually makes it a little bit easier. And as soon as I turn that gimbal on, now that we've set that, notice that we have the ability to change the different modes. And we want to do the remote shoot PC remote. And now it is set. So if I start and stop, I can do playback. So in the past, we used to use the PC remote setting, but that's not there anymore, as you've probably noticed. So after a lot of trial and error, I figured out this is where it is. So now you know, and it should be pretty easy going forward. All right, let's look at controlling the wheel so this wheel can do different things. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to swipe up a couple of times, and you're going to see the dial functions. Tap on the dial functions. And if the cable's connected, you should see the option here of choosing different options. So if I tap on ISO and I turn that wheel, you should see the ISO now is changing on the camera. All right, so we can do the same thing for the shutter speed and the aperture by choosing them. But there's another thing we can do here is we can change the focus. Now, you have to have a lens that's supported. And then what you want to do, if your lens has the option to choose between manual and autofocus, turn it on. Use autofocus on the lens. I'm using this Tamron lens, does not have that. And then you want to go into your camera's menu, and then you want to change the focus and go into manual focus. And now when you're in manual focus, adjust that wheel, look at that. All right, now we're recording, and notice how I can change that focus using the scroll wheel there. Okay, and the last thing I want to show you how to set up is this handle so we can go into briefcase mode. So what you want to do is just loosen off the handle here. So then we're going to go to this NATO connector. We're going to go underneath and push it up. And then just turn this handle till it's nice and tight. Great. Adjust the angle of this handle to what you like. Tighten it up. And now you can do two-handed shooting, which is nice. But the other thing you can do is you can go into the underslung mode just by simply tilting down. And now you can move the camera like this. Now this is something I use a lot. I love the underslung mode because it enables you to just kind of move very, very smoothly, come in at a low angle and kind of swoop up. And you can just get some beautiful shots with that. Okay, so that's your basic setup of your DJI Mini 4. Now, if you have the Mini 3 or you have the RS4 Pro, RS3, RS2 Pro, I have tutorials on there where I show you how to set up Raven Eye and all the other things that go with those as well, so check those out. So anyway, drop a comment and let me know if you found this video helpful, if it helped you get your camera and everything set up nicely. And if you're new, welcome to the cafe. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and you won't miss any of my tutorials. And until next time, I'll see you at the cafe.